Hey everybody, Brickhouse here, and Sound of Freedom, weekend number 2. It grossed another 24.7 million this weekend. So it actually increased over its debut weekend, which I'm delightfully surprised that happened. I finally had a chance to go watch it last Friday night with my significant other, my girlfriend, and I would say the theater was probably about, I'd say 35% full. And it was a small theater here in town where I live. And I will say this, if you haven't gone seen it yet, go see it. Do not let the mainstream media, and I'm talking to you, CNN, Washington Post, Rolling Stone, don't let anybody discourage you from going to see that movie. In fact, I know there's websites out there that people have paid it forward so people can go and get free tickets, free, to go see this film. I paid it forward myself. I purchased 2 tickets after the movie was over and paid it forward myself. I thought it was worth it to do that. Now, John Nolte from Breitbart, he spares no expense. He holds nothing back when talking about Sound of Freedom versus Indiana Jones and the Dial of the Insufferable Feminist. Sound of Freedom soars to 83 million as Dead Reckoning slips. Well, yes and no on the Dead Reckoning thing. I'll get to that in a second. But Sound of Freedom is no flash in the pan. Its second weekend of the Angel Studios phenomenon grossed another 24.7 million, which is an astonishing 26% increase over its debut weekend. Currently, the movie that Disney dumped, yes, Disney wasn't going to release this movie, sits at 83.2 million. I believe Sound of Freedom is going to do 100 million plus. People are going to say, "Oh man, that's an easy one to guess." Well, considering the fact that, movies do decline over time with their box office and people going to see movies, even if it drops 50%, that's 12 million, that's 95 million. So it's not a given that it's going to do 100 million. Never forget that Disney owned Sound of Freedom and then tried to disappear it because Jim Caviezel doesn't age. It's hard to tell, but Sound of Freedom wrapped in 2018, more than 5 years ago. When Disney acquired 20th Century Fox in 2019, Disney acquired Sound of Freedom, a movie that is about to become one of the most profitable independent movies of all time. Obviously, Disney didn't want this movie getting out because of the subject matter and because it depicts trafficking as a bad thing. So Disney shelved it and sat on it. And it took 5 years for the producers and the director to get the movie back. And they did. Now let's compare Sound of Freedom to Indiana Jones and the Dial of the Insufferable Feminist. Indiana Jones is set to lose probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 to 300 million. At the same time, Sound of Freedom, it's making money. In fact, everything above $35 million is profit for Sound of Freedom. And right now it's sitting at, what was that number again? 83.2 million. John Nolte writes, already the people behind this blockbuster is split about 50 million with the theaters. That's 25 million clear and counting. With its theatrical run far from over, Sound of Freedom's domestic haul is already topped all but 24 of last year's biggest grossing films, including Scream, Morbius. Well, Morbius set the bar really low. The Best Picture winner, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's not a surprise because usually Oscar winners don't do well at the box office. The Woman King, Death on the Nile, etc., etc. Now, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 came in below its 90 to 100 million projection with about 80 million over an extended 5-day opening. If you don't adjust for inflation, that's a franchise record. 23 years ago, Mission Impossible 2 opened to 79 million. Adjusted for inflation today, that'd be 140 million. Now, as I said in a couple other videos, I'm not too concerned about Dead Reckoning because Mission Impossible movies have legs. They will draw. And 70% of the draw comes from overseas. So 80 million opening where they were projected 90 to 100 domestic. That's about the same as Indiana Jones, but the difference is Indiana Jones has no legs. We knew it was bad from the beginning. So 5 days, we're talking 235 to 240 million globally for Dead Reckoning. Indiana Jones just crossed the 300 million mark in its third weekend. Now it's been pointed out, yeah, Dead Reckoning's budget was about the same as Indiana Jones 5. Plus, when you tack on the 100 million or so for promotion, you're talking about a $400 million budget. So they're about the same. Difference is Indiana Jones, bad, sucks. Dead Reckoning, good, has legs. More people are going to go see it. Now, John Nolte also points out here that Sound of Freedom is the way forward. A modest budget attached to an original story about a topic normal people care about. All you have to do is execute the story well and not undermine it with off-putting woke BS. And you have a recipe for a successful movie. Sound of Freedom isn't making a fortune because it's Christian themed. That certainly helps in an overwhelmingly Christian country, but only a handful of Christian themed movies have grossed over 80 million. No, it's not making money for the same reason Top Gun Maverick made money. Normal people love movies, but Hollywood has stopped making movies for normal people. Normal people want to be moved, inspired, transported, and engrossed in well-told stories populated with interesting characters who are not defined by their racial identity or sexual habits. Nothing violates the storytelling spell more than scolding, virtue signaling, two guys kissing, or a sense of smugness. This is what Tom Cruise has espoused here recently. I think it's a couple months ago or a month ago, where he said, you know, you need to tell a good story and develop characters. If you develop characters, tell a good story, people will come to see your movie. Top Gun Maverick. I think Dead Reckoning is a good story. I don't think it's in the same vein as Fallout, Rogue Nation, and Ghost Protocol. It's not the same. So there you have it. Weekend number 2, Sound of Freedom, still doing well at the box office. Comment down below and please tell me what you think. And while you're at it, take the time to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell to get notified when my content becomes available here on YouTube. You can also catch me over on a couple other platforms, one being Rumble, the other being Odyssey. And with that, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you later.